Albert Einstein once said if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What was your moment when someone judged you like that? Not me, but my brother. When he was in elementary school, when grades are based on things other than test scores, the teacher noted on his report card that he needs to work on his skill at cutting with scissors. My brother is left-handed, and the scissors in the classroom were for right-handed people. I had no idea that scissors could be left or right-handed growing up. Been thinking I didn't know how to use scissors up until like the 6th grade. I currently work at my local McDonald's. I'm 16, and since I live in Quebec, it's a French establishment. French is my third language, but I'm still constantly treated like I'm stupid when I don't completely understand. The worst part is, I'm very eloquent in my first and second language, Bulgarian and English. Public speaking and writing are my passions. But nobody at work thinks I could possibly be intelligent because I'm being judged on my fluency in my third language. Never mind the fact that speaking 3 languages when you're in high school is more than any of them can do. Shit is frustrating. In high school I was really good at debate and aced all my government classes. However, I had to take a pottery class for an art credit. I sucked. Hardcore. My vase looked like some bees had taken crack before they built their hive. The teacher legitimately thought I was special needs. 2 years later I was working retail to help put myself through college. I ran into the teacher one day. "It is so awesome you have a job. Good for you." I felt like Kevin Malone being patronized by Holly Flax. My mother loves to tell this story to her friends. In kindergarten we were learning penmanship and my teacher was telling us how to write our alphabet, but for some reason I could not write the letters no matter how hard I tried. Since I was able to write the alphabet before, I got very frustrated and starting crying. Turns out she was showing the class how to do letters with your right hand and I was left-handed. Had similar experience when trying to learn how to tie my shoelaces. Every adult who tried to help me eventually gave up and I felt so stupid. Then one day my left-handed uncle showed left-handed me how to do it and I learned it immediately. Playing sports growing up I would make these comically bad errors. The ball would hit me directly in the face or I would swing at a pitch too late. Everyone gave me shit, even the coaches and parents. I kept playing because I enjoyed being active and around my friends. But I never understood why no matter how much I practiced I struggled with basic things that everyone else could do without thinking. I go to the eye doctor as an adult, and he tells me that I have a condition in one of my eyes that means I don't have binocular vision and as a result have very poor depth perception. It's physically impossible for me to track a moving object in space like everyone else. I know the pain, mate. Was forced to play volleyball in high school even though I obviously couldn't follow the ball. I was once looking right at it but couldn't spot it, and it hit me right in the face. Turns out I have a retinitis pigmentosa, which not only means I can't follow objects, but I can't see at night. My peripheral vision sucks, and anything that requires precision movement is out of the question. Thankfully I'm great in other fields that do not require good eye coordination. Maybe for some it won't be a situation like the Einstein quote, but I felt like a fish trying to climb a tree. A few months ago I got the chance for an interview for an okay job. I finished all tests with almost 100% and finished the first 2 interviews quite good, and when I got to the last one they started asking me questions that had nothing to do with my profession. I was completely silent because it has nothing to do with what I studied. I think that I even looked like a fish gasping for water. After they started to make fun of me, I just walked out. I mostly judged myself. My whole life I pressured myself to be just as smart as my dad and brother, who were phenomenal in math and engineering. My dad has an IQ of 138 and my brother always had A's and made the dean's list in post-secondary. The institution gave out entire cakes to those on the dean's list. I struggled so hard in math. I tried so hard. exponentially more than any other kid, because I felt like if I didn't get good at math, or any subject for that matter, then I wasn't smart. Always a C+B student. Because I wasn't good at something, I very much lived years feeling I was stupid. Then as I grew older I realized that my skills in art were actually worth something. My art teachers were always very impressed. Soon it progressed to people making me offers. The school's police officer even had me make him something. I had some artwork displayed at the city's airport. And when I expressed to my dad that I felt like there were no jobs for me on my degree, he said to try something else. I asked what, and he said art, which I thought was a little funny for the starving artist stereotype. In that moment, it felt like he equated my artistic skills to his intelligence and success. When I was in the Navy I used to get in fairly frequent trouble for the suggestions I made for improving operational efficiencies. As an outside contractor they were quite happy to pay me $200 an hour to say the exact same thing. The Fortune 500 company I freelance with would prefer to use an outside vendor for a project, thinking they would do a better job since that's all they do. That vendor then hires me at my same rate, meaning the original company is just paying more for me to do the work I could have done internally. Moral of the story: if you charge more, people will think you're worth more. A $6 bottle of wine may be better than a $45 bottle, but most people will say the $45 bottle must be better because why else would it be $45? That reminds me of this one thing I saw where someone started selling their art, but they had low prices in the hopes people would be willing to buy since it wouldn't cost much. They were struggling to make sales and looking for advice, and someone said to raise the prices for the same pieces from like $10 to $50. And it actually worked. Human psychology is nuts. Using the price tag as a statement of quality. It works for Apple, it works for Guxy, and it can work for you. I am very dyslexic. It results in me having the spelling and grammar of a middle schooler, plus it makes me have trouble hearing similar sounding words. Letters and phonic sounds don't always connect to the idea they represent in my head. I listen to the overall idea and not the individual letters. As a result, school was a very mixed bag. I had to be very hard working to compensate for the disability. I became very good at working with people. I learned to plan ahead because I can't do things last minute, and developed a strong logic skill set. The problem is that many teachers thought I was lazy because I would describe what I thought while the other person wrote it down, etc. In college the department head of chemistry is the teacher that fully understands who I am as an academic student. He thought it was hilarious that I had the highest lab grade while the low end of the class portion. Apparently it caused heated discussions as you know why the only non-pre-med was doing so much better than the pre-med students in laboratory classes. I think he was the only teacher that appreciated that I was good at working with people and terrible at writing papers for classes. I was teased a lot in middle school, early high school for loving hockey. Would constantly get my knowledge tested, my appearance would get brought into it. Why would a fat girl like hockey? Had someone ask me if it was my passion and laugh in my face when I said yes. Jokes on them. I'm an officially credentialed journalist by the NHL now and have personally spoken to more players than they could dream of buying autographs from. Now you can tell your former critics to go to HE hockey sticks. The time my middle school art teacher called my parents because she thought I was purposefully mocking her by making my art bad. I literally can't draw beyond a 3rd grade level unless I am copying an object right in front me. My parents basically cussed her out after they saw how hurt I was. Same. My K4th grade teachers all told me I couldn't draw well and even lowered my other grades because I couldn't draw, and there was an art component to every subject like science class where I was given a low grade because my fish and fish scales weren't good enough even though the information about fish was. It was ridiculous. I hated school. I thought I was dumb and would never really get anywhere. It wasn't until 5th grade where I had a first time teacher that told me I suck at art too. It's okay. That doesn't mean you can't be good at other things that I started getting as in everything, and honestly I started to like school because of him. Even before my first report card with him as a teacher, I actually started feeling confident in class regardless of if a subject was my strong point. Edit. If anybody knows how to contact a teacher that moved schools, is not originally from this province, I don't know their first name, and their last name is spelled one of two ways, please let me know. I would like to thank him because my life would not be nearly as good if he didn't cure my hatred of education. What psycho school is that? Do they think all of us are born with artistic talent and incorporate art into science, then punish you with bad grades because your art is bad? Right? They had me feeling like I was legitimately just stupid because I couldn't draw. All I heard at school was get good grades for a future, and all I saw was you can't draw so you can't get good grades, and that was very intimidating for me as a child. Just the thought of drawing and coloring scared the hell out of me, which made me even worse than I was. This was basically my childhood, because I was bad at math. I guess most children goes through this, which is very sad. Only at uni did I realize that I didn't have to be good at everything. I had a professor who spoke 13 languages, but couldn't count how much 5 plus 4 is. He's the best at his field. Ironically, once you get to college, all the math professors have forgotten how to do simple math as well. I remember all of us checking like super basic math they are doing on the whiteboard cause they'd fuck it up 1 times in 4 but were completing these insane proofs. I get this even as a higher level math tutor. Give me anything beside basic math and I can help you out almost without thinking. Helping my 2nd grade niece with her math homework? I'm counting on my fingers like she is. When I get introduced to a new person, but I'm not part of the conversation, I just sit and wait. Then I get told, oh, you're really quiet. Huh, no, I just didn't want to interrupt, but had a review at work the other day with a new manager and he was like, your performance is excellent, your colleagues are always positive about you. The only thing I would say is that you're a bit quiet sometimes. I wouldn't say I'm quiet at all. I join in on conversations and put forward my opinion when necessary. I just don't engage in endless idle chatter with every person I come across at work. Also in the same conversation he was moaning about someone else being too loud and chatty, so I'm not really sure what he wants. I got this too. We all have our meetings through Skype. My local boss is everyone's big boss. So I went direct to him to ask permission first, and he thought the idea was hilarious. Before I could not get a word in edgewise because certain people would consistently talk and jump in and continue to talk all the time so that no one else can put in their opinions until the subject has changed. Now if I have anything to say, I am the only one that has noticed the mute all other people button. I literally just click it to shut everyone the fuck up to listen to me. If you're busy talking and you don't hear me, that's okay, everyone else is hearing me. Instantly my ideas were being heard a bit more in meetings. And now people actually stop to ask for my opinion or commentary. Judged the country kids in my English class for being dumb fucks, until I did an autos class. What I found incomprehensible, they could do with ease. I had become the dumb fuck. Respect the fact that you admitted you were the one judging people. For real. This world would be a much better place if more people could admit their own mistakes such as these and grow from the experience. I had a similar experience in grade 8. We had done a geography test and the kid whose test I marked literally got 5% on it. I was pretty judgy until a few days later when he taught me in great detail how a car engine works. I lived in Argentina, from us, for a little bit as a kid. At a parent-teacher conference early in the school year, one art teacher had to break it to my parents that I might be mentally disabled because I don't respond or participate. They let her know I didn't speak any Spanish at the time. She had no idea because Moon told her and my name is Spanish and it just didn't occur to her. Currently ATM. I am in France for a few months. I can barely speak French and my teachers think I am mentally challenged. Even though I was acing my classes back home. Teacher, I think your child might be mentally challenged. Parent: no, he's just American. My grade school teacher said my handwriting was so bad I must think I was training to be a doctor. Now I am one. Once someone on Reddit started complaining about something and said I wasn't a real man for a bunch of reasons. I'm a woman, so they're not exactly wrong. I had someone tell me once, you're just jealous you can't get your dick wet. Well, you're right, I can't because I don't have one. This was kind of judging as well as being judged. In my high school guitar class, me and one other girl were both really struggling. I judged her as being bad at music, unskilled, stupid, like me. Thing is, I remember an incident of my teacher who was very technologically proficient asking my help with typing something he'd written by hand. He was trying to read it aloud to me, but eventually I just asked him to set it down where I could see it, because it was easier and faster for me to touch type it. He was floored by how fast and how well correctly I could type that way, and while many, if not most, 16-year-olds probably can now, back then it was a little less usual. Not too long after, like a week, I think the piano in the music room was, for once, left uncovered. That girl who I judged as being a fellow musical idiot sat down and started playing that piano phenomenally. I have a very visceral and vindicating memory of my guitar teacher looking between her, me, the computer, and my hands, and saying, you know, that actually explains a lot. TL. Doctor, I judged myself and a guitar classmate as unskilled idiots, discounting just how great our typing and piano skills were. Eater. So apparently my 80 WPM typing speed might not have become as widespread and normalized as I thought. Till. Due to the shift of computing from desktop and laptop computers towards mobile phones, we're actually seeing a reversal of the trend that young people can type well. A buddy of mine had said something similar about his kid recently. He's a programmer, and he kind of hoped to get his kid similarly into it. I remember joking one day that the kids of today would be able to effortlessly run laps around us when it comes to programming and making technology, not needing much training at all, because they are growing up basically surrounded by it. He just shook his head and said it was the opposite. All the tech of today works pretty seamlessly, requires almost no tinkering, and the daily need of a kid today to put hands to keyboard is minimal at best. Those of us who were born in the 80s, early 90s had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood, so if we were interested in tech then we got to spend a lot of time looking under the hood and learning the ins outs. This is very helpful for learning how tech works. And since we didn't have smartphones, it was keyboards and desktops, laptops for everything entertainment, so we were very comfortable in that as well. Obviously modern kids can learn to do all this stuff, but my perception of what was some huge advantage to them actually wasn't. Our lack of advanced options and being limited to using a desktop laptop for everything made learning this stuff very fluid and easy for us, while future generations may actually have to put a more concerted effort into learn it because their stuff isn't as crappy as ours. They have more interesting things available to do equals D. I only expressed interest in a few things when I was a kid. Cooking, making games. My parents told me they were bad careers and made me play soccer and do scouts and other things I hated. I was terrible academically all the way through the end of college, where I studied management, because these things I was told I was supposed to be doing were of zero interest to me. A few years out I taught myself to code, and now I spend my life making games and cooking for friends, and I'm fucking great at it. That quote has always rung true for me, but on top of that I really feel this: adults, stop telling kids what they should be interested in. If a kid is interested in something you don't get, when they are an adult it's highly likely that this thing will be a marketplace with hundreds of millions of consumers and will absolutely be a career. If they were involved early, they'll be golden. Most people have a very backwards looking view of the economy, and don't understand how totally it changes with each generation. Me judging another guy. I served with this guy who we all believe was a complete idiot. Just everything he said and did was idiotic. While we were in Thailand, he spent an hour talking to a Thai marine. I will be damned if he didn't learn enough of the language to take a taxi around a city. I firmly believe he would have become fluent if we left him there for a week. Once at my workplace, I asked for help to open a box because I really couldn't open it. This one girl I worked with looked at me with disgust and didn't help me. She later talked shit about me and said I'm fucking stupid. I was born with polydactyly and they cut off my 2 extra fingers and fixed a lot of stuff. I can't use all my fingers properly. By the way, fuck you Sarah. Edit. Wow, I never thought that a comment about calling out Sarah's bullshit would be my most upvoted one, nor that it would blow up like that. Thank you, kind strangers. I have a feeling those last few sentences should have been your response. My fingers don't work. Also fuck you. Double quote. Remembering people's names. I'm great at remembering faces and things about people, except for their names. People think I'm inconsiderate, when in fact I just can't remember names half the time. It doesn't help that I can remember massive amounts of dumb trivia and school material, but just not the names of people I meet. So I'm from India and education system in here used to be really bad. We have special exams known as board exams and those scores can help us get into a better college uni. The issue here is, our teachers force us to write the exact same way the answers are given us in the textbook, including the punctuation. I know it sounds crazy but it's true. Nothing must be skipped. The teachers who must help the students to actually study and understand the concepts, ask us to mug things up BC. All they want is 100% pass percentage and not the proper education. And me on the other hand was terrible at memorizing and remembering stuff if I don't understand the concept in the first place. So I failed some subjects during my monthly tests and for that I was made to feel like I'm stupid and useless. And the only thing I told to myself was this quote. But I got some decent scores at my final exams, thanks to YouTube. Edit. I can't believe that students who are still in high schools are still going through the same shit that I experienced 4 years ago. That's why I wrote used to be. BC I'm not aware of the current scenario and trust me the unis and colleges are just a little better, not that great either. Because people around me carry it on from their school life and do the same route here as well. And people say they are unemployed. I mean the very reason is right here. How can one survive in a field where you must be an expert? If you don't know, you just memorize the fundamental principles in the first place. Went through a 2-year community college by armed program. Had only 3 or 4 different teachers throughout the 2 years and we had a small class. Had one teacher that told me on multiple occasions that I wasn't a good fit for this program. He had 25 plus years working in by armed and at least 10 years of teaching it. Really had me second guessing my life. Admittedly I was horrible at all the homework, but did decent on the hands-on parts of class. The last semester an internship was required. The teacher that didn't like me found internship placements for all my classmates and told me since I wasn't a good student that I should try find my own at some sort of basic electronic repair store. Just to spite him I went into the same hospital that all my other classmates were given internships at and interviewed for an internship. At the end of the internship semester I was the only one who was offered a position. Suck it. I was forced to attend art classes and team sports phys ed in school, mandatory until year 11, art, or 13, respectively. Those two made sure that my average was ruined. I can't draw or throw a ball even if my life depended on it, got the grades to match, and B, in my most awkward social phase. I got humiliated regularly by well-meaning teachers who couldn't understand that being good at math and physics does not translate into drawing or predicting a ball's movement, forcing me to do it again, and again, and again, while the whole class enjoyed the show.